Radio. This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to 19 Cats and Counting, and our favorite podcast, hosted by our favorite cat behavior specialist and multi-cat expert, Rita Reimers. How you doing, Rita?
I'm good. How are you today?
I am good. I'm kind of bumming, though, because I know we're going to talk about cat grief.
I know.
And that's a tough subject. But that is on my list. I have a list of questions I want to ask God when I get there. And one is, why do cats have such short lives? I hate this. You lose so many.
As we're talking about this, my baby Simba is nipping at my toes down here. I wish they lived forever, but you know, an inside cat can live to be 18, 20 years old. And the oldest cat on record, I believe, is 32. So some can have some pretty long lives.
That is great.
Yeah.
Well, I tell myself that means you can rescue another cat that wouldn't have, if all my cats live to be 20s or 30s even, then, I wouldn't have been able to rescue some of them that I rescued.
That is true.
But cat grief is hard, and I'm sure you hear this from people. Not everybody gets it. And people, if I said my child died, there'd be an outpouring and I'd have casseroles. If I say my cat dies, it's like, sorry, yeah, I know, we love them. And then they expect you to move on.
Or the worst thing when my Sadie died is somebody who was a good friend of mine said to me, well, don't you have 6 others? I thought that was so heartless.
If one of my children died, would they say, oh, you've got others? No.
I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder where people's thoughts are. Maybe they would say that.
You're right.
I'm having to hold the microphone right now because I let Simba in here and I probably shouldn't have. Oh, Simba. Anyway. So, the thing is, these days, more and more people are living alone. They're apart from their families. They live in other cities which I did for years, and their pets, especially their cats, are the predominant other person in their lives, for lack of better. And even if you are married or you have a significant other, do you let your significant other come in the bathroom with you? I don't think so. Right. But my cats, they're in the bathroom with me. They see it all.
I let my poor husband get away with half of what these cats get away with, but
see.
And I know when we were doing the pet sitting, I know we had a Los Angeles client that I just about died. She was originally from Europe. She has no family there, work associates, etc., but no family. She got this cat. This cat is her child. She doesn't have a significant other. She doesn't have human children. This is her child. And so when she'd travel back to Europe, she'd take this kitty on the plane with her. Well, she adopted a second cat. And, you can't take 2 cats on the plane unless you put one in cargo. And I'm not putting my child in cargo. Not sure about you, but she couldn't do it. So she stopped going home. And she finally reached out to us under great pressure from her family that she had to come visit them in Europe. So she finally gave in and said that, she would go ahead and get a cat sitter, but she was scared to death. And I get it. I mean,
there's a whole nother show we can do about pet sitting.
Yes. But these cats, they're her family. They're what she's got there in LA. And that's huge. And so if that's your entire life, that's who you're coming home to. That's who you're going to bed with. This is your child and they die. It's devastating.
No, that's me. I mean, and especially I moved out to LA. I didn't know that many people. I knew a few people, but not many. I had left a career I had for 22 years. I had actually driven across country with my 6 cats. I had acquired a 7th. And these guys were my everything. They were the only stability in my life. So when my Sadie passed away, even though we were kind of expecting it, it was just devastating. I wanted to die. Literally.
You've written Sadie's Heart, which if you're a Clubhouse member at ritareimers.com, you can get the PDF download for free and read it. It's also available on Amazon in Kindle or in softcover.
Right.
And the first time I read it, I was checking for typos. It's not a long book. It's something that you can sit down and dedicate some time and read through. And it's hard to put down once you get started.
Yeah, it's about
And it's
100
not
and
just
some odd pages.
okay. So yeah, it's, if you want to just take an hour and a cup of coffee and sit and read, but grab the tissue box.
Mhm.
I have never sobbed, and I mean like snot, the whole.
Well, plus I took the time to dig out photos, Some of the photos I didn't even remember I had. Like, I was talking about when Sadie was diagnosed. Well, I guess I should back up. Sadie was diagnosed with a heart condition called ventral septal defect when she was just a tiny little kitten. And I was told she wouldn't live past 6 months. Well, she lived to be not quite 7 years old. She was a tiny little thing. She always was smaller than the other kitties. And when she was diagnosed with VSD, ventral septal defect, I had her in the car with me, and I was just sobbing because they told me she probably wouldn't live very long. And there's a picture, and it's in the book, of her. She climbed up on my shoulder, and she's got her head between my shoulder and the seatbelt, and she's trying to comfort me.
Well, the book is not just a great grief resource. I mean, it's an amazing grief resource, but it's so much more. The story of how you got her, for one thing, is just comical and typical for us. Somebody else gets a kitten and you end up, because it was the boss's cat, and where's the boss? Well, no, he's not here. So my husband's allergic. Can you please just take this kitten and then give it back to him? And then you took the kitten and fell in love. So there's that amazing story. And then there's a story of
supposed to be mine.
medical issues.
I had just lost Mischief. I was still in grief over my diabetic kitty Mischief, who passed away just about a month beforehand.
Yeah,
so
is the first line in the book, I don't want another cat?
Yeah, I believe it is.
How most of my cat stories
but
start.
I don't want a cat. Yeah.
Yes,
Or
I do believe that's like the first sentence. Yeah. And then when you found out what was wrong, and not just taking the vet's advice, but searching for other ways to administer the medication. And I'm not going to give the whole book away, but it really was also a great resource on if you have an ill cat and what you can do. I mean, the power of you kept that cat alive for 7 years. I believe there was a point, it's been a while since I read the book. I'm not in the mood to cry right now. I have makeup on. So there was a point in the book where, didn't you like took it to the vet or something, and they were like, how is this cat alive?
Yeah, when I first moved out to LA and I saw Dr. Bell in Woodland Hills, and it's like, how is this cat even alive? I said, I don't know. Every vet who saw her would say the same thing, and they would all say it's just love and care. And I think my vets all thought I had crushes on them because I would be calling them constantly. What can we do now? Can we do this? Can we try that? I just wanted
Was it a hot vet?
Cat. Actually, a couple of them were pretty hot. Dr. Bell, and the doctor that confirmed Dr. Margaret's diagnosis, I can't remember his name, but he was really cute too. So yeah, but no, it wasn't anything about
the money you save on vet care. But
I know, and there's a vet here in the Charlotte area that my mom wanted me to go out with, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I just, she said the same thing. Think of the vet bills you would save. No, just no.
You're like a Catholic priest who's married to the church. You're married to your cats. These are your mission. This is where your focus goes. This is the thing.
I know we're digressing.
Take a pretty special man. Yeah, take a pretty special man.
Come along, and if that's meant, it'll happen. I don't need to be out there dating, I haven't dated it.
Real men love cats.
Well, but I'm not desperate. That's the thing, is I've spent the last 20 years building my career. And then I looked up and went, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to have a partner in my life, aren't I? Oh, I didn't have kids. Oh, well, you're like, no. Cats.
You're on a mission. They live, breathe, and sleep cats. But yeah,
she was like, she was my soulmate cat, And I think because she needed such special, concentrated care, we had a very deep relationship.
Yes. And I know you had problems giving her the medication, and you had to look for other ways to administer it, and you found somebody, the compounding plan, and just, it was such a great resource for all of that. But yeah, the story develops and you just feel this love. I mean, this is your daughter. And I know, and others have testified to the fact that Sadie would say, Mama, at you. And how amazing. And when she passed, when I got to that part in the book, I just was just losing my stuff. I'll tell you, when you walked in and she's on the couch and I just screamed out, no, and just sobbed like, oh,
You know
I
what
have
possessed
grief
me to
over
write it,
Sadie.
though, Linda, is that when I was going through this, there was nothing out there that let me know I wasn't crazy. I thought,
Yeah.
because I thought the same thing. She's a cat. But I was in such
Yeah.
deep grief. It was like I lost a child.
You lost your daughter. Yes.
And
Just
Richard
because.
Simmons, he called me every day. And even, he would even say, but your other cats need you. You have to get out of bed. I'm like, but I don't want to.
Yes.
I
My
just
baby's
didn't.
gone. Oh, I know what I went through when my latte died. We
Yeah.
called her Nurse Latte.
I
She was
remember.
one that, yeah, we didn't intend on adopting her. We went to this fall festival at this flower place here in town, and Jackie from Friends of Felines was working a booth and selling products to help fund the rescue. And she said, I was just thinking about you. Uh-oh. And I just adopted Super and Baka, and she said she had this mama cat named Java that came to her pregnant. And so they gave all the babies coffee names. And Latte had gone with these loving people. And she had lived with them for a few years. I want to say 3 or 4. And
I
then
wondered how
I
she
don't
got her
know what
name.
happened. Yes, her mama was Java. All the kittens got coffee names. So she was Latte. So I've never told you that story. I can't believe that.
No.
Ah, yes, Latte. And yeah, the people, I don't remember what the story was, but for some reason they, I don't know, had to move and couldn't take the cat, whatever. And she said, this cat has lived in a home. I don't want to put her back in a rescue with all these other cats. She needs a home. So Brian and I looked at each other, went home, got the carrier, drove to Friends of sight unseen, picked the cat up.
That word
She
sucker
was
was
the
showing
most,
again.
oh, without a doubt, without Jackie knew who to talk to. I was thinking about you. Uh-oh. And she was so loving. Anytime anybody got sick, one of the little kids got sick, she'd lay on them and just purr. And I know there's healing qualities in those purrs and that the
Yes.
megahertz that it hits. And
Mhm.
she would just take care of you, would not leave your side. I kept saying, are you eating? Are you using the litter box? Or are you just laying on this feverish child? She was amazing. And she got cancer and I kept her. Her tumor was huge on her leg. It was just, I remember when my parents came back from Florida and saw her and, hadn't seen her for 6 months. My mother, oh, Linda. And I'm like, shush, I can't hear it. I know, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And it took until she was really having problems with respiratory. And I knew it was time. And then I had to rush her to do it right then. And yeah, I was devastated. I mean,
Remember,
I
Jane
just
was
sat.
going through it at the same time. That was Jane, who was our
Yeah.
reservationist at the time at Just for Cats Pet Sitting.
Yeah.
I think her kitty passed away about a week before yours.
And they had the same rare cancer.
Mm-hmm.
It was very weird because they said it was a rare cancer and it was very fast growing. They couldn't, they looked into just taking her leg, but it was too far into the hip and spread and you couldn't, you can't.
I know you
cut the
kept
cat in half.
asking me, when do I know it's time? And I kept telling you, you'll know.
I just kept feeling like I wanted to keep her.
I know.
But I knew that, and she was not a complainer. And I kept saying, if she complains or shows that she's in pain, but then I noticed, she wasn't going upstairs anymore, but then she could still get on the couch. And then she started those last, I think 2 days, she was laying underneath the kitchen table and I knew that was it.
That's
but,
like when my
as long as
pumpkin died.
Oh, yes.
When they start laying underneath the table and they start trying to hide away, that's a sign.
Things are serious. Yes. Get them to the vet or if you know of the cause. And I just knew. And then, she was having problems breathing. And then it could get a little better. And then but again, no, I had to take her in and I had to rush her in. And it was awful. And I was just, I sat in the office sobbing, going, I'm sorry, I waited too long. I'm selfish. I love you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And it was awful. And then I brought her home. I couldn't, which I always leave my cat there to be cremated. Always. I couldn't do it. I don't know what it was, but she was just so special and I couldn't leave her. And I wrapped her up in a baby blanket and I brought her home. And when my husband got home from work, he had to dig and he found me in the bedroom holding the deceased cat. Is that too much information? I don't know, but it was, I was just destroyed. I'm sitting there rocking this cat. I
totally get it. I had a hard time leaving Sadie when we took her to be cremated. Well, you'll read that in the book. It's very hard.
Yeah.
And I've had others pass away since, and whether you make the decision or whether they die at home, it still is. I don't know which way is worse, to tell you the truth. I've had it both ways. I've had 3 die at home, and then I've had to make the decision for quite a few others, like 7 or 8 others. It's awful.
Yes. I wish we had one of those visiting vets. It would have been not, I'm shoving her in a carrier and taking her on a trip. What cat loves to go to the vet's? This is not the thing I want to be doing to my cat who is already in such misery, and giving her up was the hardest. Brian came home and I told him on the phone what was going on. He came home early and he reached out to take her from me. And I looked at him and I said, "You haven't got the hole yet. What are you going to do? You're going to lay her on the floor? What are you going to just lay her on the hard ground? This is a lot today." He's like,
"No, I get it.
Okay. Go back." He actually said after everything was said and done and some time had passed that he was afraid we would be sleeping with the dead cat. He was afraid to get her out of my hands. But once he had everything ready, I reluctantly gave her up. But
I wouldn't doubt there's someone out there who has done that.
I'm sure. It's just, I know you're not going to lay her on the hard ground I'm going to keep her until, my husband was a little scared of me, but I just was
and the other thing too is like making the decision is so hard. I remember, and you might remember this story, when my Sebastian was so sick. I think I've told you this story. And I took him, I'm not going to name the vet because I don't want to embarrass anyone. And I took him to the vet, and he wasn't deathly sick yet, but he was, starting on the decline. And this vet thought I should put him down. And I said, "He's still eating, he's still drinking, he's still purring, he's still sleeping on the bed. Why? Why should I put him down?" And he started screaming at me, "You wait too long to put your cats down." And he just was, with everything he had. And I just picked up my cat and I went out and paid the bill and I said goodbye. And I never went back to that vet's office. Even though I had great respect for the other vet in the office, whose office it actually was, whose practice it actually was, I would not go back there because... And he actually wrote me a long letter apologizing and saying that, he's having a bad day and he had just gone through something with another client and he took it out on me, but I don't care. I never went back. And
I get it. I mean,
he lived another 2 years, Linda, and before he was
exactly
to the point where I had to, let him go. So, sometimes when a vet thinks it's time to let him go, if you don't feel it, if your cat's not actively suffering and you don't feel it's time, it's not time.
We had a client cat that they put the cat down and it was a misdiagnosis and the cat just needed medication. I don't remember the whole story, but you know what I'm talking about. And, you really got to go with your gut. And if you're not ready, and I can understand from a vet's point of view, you're going to go home and make this cat suffer, end it now. But you don't know what's ahead. They said that Latte would be lucky to have 3 months. There's no way she'd make it 6. And I want to say she made it 9 or 10. So,
and who am I to say, or who are you to say that those extra 6 months were not hers to have? Were they yours to deny her? No.
And ours as a family who loved her and wanted time from her. Yes. I mean, I'm sure there are people with the heart condition Sadie had that would have gone straight to euthanasia. And
that's what they recommended, and I said no.
Oh, see, there you go. And I'm glad we have that option, as opposed to people that we don't have to let them be in pain and suffer it out and, go through that. But it's tough. And I say, you wouldn't just kill a person because they had this,
Right. She wasn't suffering. And when she finally passed, she had a massive coronary, is what happened. And I was only gone from the house 2 hours, so I know she wasn't long suffering. So why should I have denied her almost 7 years of life? Because that she might die at 6 months, right?
And our cats give us such a gift. If you'd have euthanized her as a kitten, you would have missed out on 7 years with Sadie. And that was such a blessing. And that was your first soul cat, heart cat, that...
That's why I got involved in rescue, because after I spent that week in bed, I thought, I have to stop and I have to make something positive happen from this. That's when I started volunteering at Save a Life Rescue, and all the rest of these babies came into my life.
Yes. They have a wonderful vet's office, Napoleon Veterinary Clinic in Napoleon, Ohio, that every time I had to euthanize an animal, they would give a little donation in their name. I thought that was
Oh,
just the
yeah,
neatest
Dr.
way.
Shaw did
They're
that
also,
for
isn't that just the best? And they send a sympathy
yeah,
card, and it's so
yeah,
sweet. And they treat you like they should treat you. And I know that
yeah.
that's funny to say, but I've had experiences with other vets that were not the same, that they totally got it, that I'm saying goodbye to a family member and making a decision that, I mean, there's guilt involved too when you decide, who am I to take a life, right? Or to decide that your life is over. It's
I
a
know.
very hard decision for a person to make, especially for someone that they really, really love. So when that time comes and they give you that respect and that time alone with them and the time alone with them after the cat has passed, it's just such a beautiful thing. You feel like you're being treated with respect and love, and it feels safer to leave your cat there knowing that these people loved. And I've even seen a few texts tear up, at the time. So when
Well,
you
I'll tell
feel
you,
that care, yeah.
when I started going to see, Indian Land Veterinary Hospital, and I got that card from Dr. Shaw saying that she had donated, and
Yes.
I just
Yes.
I can't remember which kitty it was. It was Pickles, I think. She had donated in
Oh,
Pickles' name, and that just meant the world to me.
it's just the sweetest thing. And I'll tell you, if somebody's listening that doesn't have cats, I really hope that what they're getting out of this is an understanding of how we feel about our babies. And it goes for people with dogs and people with any companion animal, how serious this is. And, send your friend a little, I don't care, a little e-card or something, sympathy card, and let them know that, you take this seriously, because the whole reason that we do funeral homes and such for people, I mean, it's not because people love standing around a dead person in a coffin and crying and wearing black, although it is slimming. It's not a good time, it's not
It is
by
something,
all.
I'll give you
But it's,
that.
but it's because we come together in times like that to support each other. And you don't have that with an animal. If you
No.
don't have a group of people that really understand and can sympathize, you're just left. And so often it just happens. I remember when your Abby passed, I
I know, I'm sitting here
picked up
thinking
the
about
phone.
all of them.
Yes, I picked up the phone. I was going to call you for something, and you got a text. I got a text. You sent me a text that said Abby's dead, and I was like, "What?
She
What?"
was
And I
never
called
even
you right
sick.
away. Yeah, and you were just killing yourself. How did I miss this? I'm a cat expert. How did I miss this? She was sick. You couldn't. It was just one of those things. It was
She had
cancer, wasn't it, with
cancer.
her?
Yeah, yeah, she had
Yeah, and
cancer.
there were no outward tumors. There was no way for you to know. And it just took her, and she went to sleep and didn't wake up. And there you are alone. And again, yeah, you're not calling the coroner. You're not putting her at the funeral home. You're not going to have people gathering and sending you casseroles. You're just
Well, my
sitting
friend
there with your
Jane came
cat.
over. She came over.
Yes,
Uh,
good.
yeah, it was the thing is too. The worst thing you can say to somebody who's lost a companion animal is get over it, or you'll get another one, or don't you have another one, or just say if you
It's
don't have
just
anything to say,
that,
just say I'm sorry and don't say anything else.
right? That age-old wisdom from our mothers. If you don't have anything nice to say,
Don't say
shut your
anything
pie
else.
hole. Is that how it goes now?
It's true.
My mother, she wouldn't say shut your pie hole. But she definitely said, you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
I remember when
Yes.
the dog we had when I was growing up, Blazer, he died right after I got married. He still lived at home with my parents. He was really my dad's dog. And he was 16. He was a Lab Golden mix. And my dad was so broken up. He in the same week, well, it was like 6 months after I got married, and in that same week, his best friend died of a heart attack. His sister died, and then the cherry on the cake was the dog died. So it was like all his grief went into the dog dying, and we owned some land in Allegheny County, and he took Blazer down after the vet put him down, and he drove. It was like 2 hours away, and he buried him, and he wanted to do it by himself because he needed that closure. But
Yes.
everybody
Yes.
handles it in their own way, but he was in a lot of pain
Yes.
over losing that dog.
Oh, yes. Well, especially our companion animals, they see us at our best and at our worst. If I'm sick in bed and look a fright or look homeless, as I often do lately, since Corona and I don't leave the house, your cat's there and they're giving you love. And especially if ever I'm sad or really shook up or sick, then my cat is there. And it's a huge bond. And then they're not there. That's horrible.
Can you imagine if I didn't have any cats left? I would have been alone all this time because, you know,
Oh my God.
I don't have anyone
Yes.
else in the house. My parents are
Yes.
not far away, but you know, with COVID, and
Yes.
I don't have my face masks yet, and you know, they've been going to the store a lot more than me. We're just keeping our
Yes.
distance from each other.
Yes.
You know, you
That's
got
why.
people in
Yeah.
the house, but without the cats, I'd be all alone here. I probably would have
Yeah.
broken the lockdown order already.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you'd have to. Yeah, I haven't seen my parents in I don't know how long because they came back from Florida and I don't want to. I have not been out,
I
but
know.
my son has a paper route. My husband goes to the bank and I don't know that there isn't COVID in the house and I
Sure.
would never forgive myself if I gave that to my parents.
I'm
So,
sure
yeah.
there's not because you'd be sick already, but you don't want to
Yeah,
take
I
that
have hope. But
chance.
yeah, it's an awful big risk with your parents, you know. I
You could
kind
be
of
a
like them. I want to
silent
keep them around for
carrier.
a while. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Or, you know, the symptoms haven't presented yet, but it's there because as with any illness, you get it before it's there. So, yeah, that's my cats. They're my buddies. Matter of fact, I was thinking yesterday, only Super was in the bedroom with me and I was 8 cats and I've got one. I was like, I think I need to adopt another cat.
I know the other
Don't
night there was
tell
nobody on the bed with me, and I thought, what happened? What happened? I don't know where they
What's
were. I mean, sooner or later they came in, but you know, with 19 cats to have not one on the bed with me, that was
I
weird.
was gonna ask if you had showered. Is that the problem? Although no, because cats
Might been.
even smell. So the riper the better for a cat, right? Like,
Well, yeah, cats like smelling things. We've talked about that before.
yeah, that's why they go
Why
in
your
shoes.
why
Yes.
yeah, your daughter's work shoes, the cats would stick their heads in.
Yes. Ugh. They were so
Gross.
disgusting. We wanted to leave them on the porch after working in the factory, and yeah, the
You
cats
might
would
want
go
to
right
mention
for her.
she
I'd be
was
like,
working in a
serious?
factory then. It wasn't like she, you know, so they were really
Yes.
smelly shoes.
Yeah, yeah, nice sweaty feet, shoved in work boots all that time. Yes,
Maybe that was too clean then. Maybe that was the deal. Maybe it was the night I took a
Yeah,
shower before bed. I
they
don't know.
was nice to shower, which will just give you more excuses not to shower. But we digress.
You
Yeah,
know,
if you have not read Sadie's Heart, like I said, if you're a member of the clubhouse, which right now a month is $1, and that goes to Friends of Felines Rescue
you can
Center for
read
this
it
quarter.
online. I don't have the PDF. It's that you read it right there online, chapter by chapter.
Okay, yes, you read it online in the clubhouse for free, or you can get it on Amazon on Kindle, or now on paperback. I love.
I love the
So,
paperback. It took me a while
yeah,
to finally get that done because, you know, I do all my own formatting and I was scared
yeah.
to read it again. And, you know, you have to format a little different than you do for the Kindle download. And so I had to read it again. I
Oh
had to
no,
really, I had to
were you
study myself
sobbing?
for it. Yeah, not as bad. But, you know, I just lost Kobe and Pumpkin this year. So it brings all
Yeah.
that up again.
Ugh,
Every
it's
time
the
you lose
worst.
one, you think about the other ones that you've lost. Just like with people,
Exactly.
when you lose a relative or a friend, you think about all the other
Yes.
ones. You know?
Yes.
Like
And
it's
I
horror.
always recommend that if people are considering adopting, that they adopt before, if they know that their cat is, you know, getting up there in age or whatever, that they adopt before the cat goes. Because I got Kismet by accident by you, my North Carolina kitty, right before Latte passed, and I would not have adopted. And if Latte had passed, it would have been too hard to adopt. So, I mean, eventually I would have, but
Yeah,
having
it's
Kismet and
like me with
yeah,
Simba, my orange kitten. He came
yeah,
like the week before my other orange cat Colby passed away,
yeah,
and had he come to me after, I probably would have hesitated.
yeah, yeah. It's too hard. Well, and you're hurting so bad. You're like, if I had a nickel for every time I said, "Why do I love these stupid cats and bring them into my
I
house?" They just
know.
break your heart, right? Right. So,
But then you also
all you
don't
can
want to feel like you're replacing one with the other because you never can.
exactly,
They're all their
exactly.
own, you know.
Oh, oddly enough, and you know this obviously having 19, but my 8 cats, every one of them's personality is different. It
They are
just
different.
amazes me. Very
That
much
might
like children.
We might need to talk about that on the next segment because we're at 30 minutes.
Yes, that's a good idea. All right. Well, I hope people learned something from this. If nothing else, got a little comfort that we're all in this together. But I would really encourage picking up Sadie's Heart. It's a great read, but it's also, like I said, it's a great resource for having a cat with special medical needs. and of course on grief. And it was just such an amazing resource.
Well, I'm glad I could help.
People understand. Oh, tremendous. And it might help others to understand the bond that we get with our cats, the people that aren't cat parents, that will help them to understand a little better what someone's going through. Maybe if you lose your cat, your friend isn't being kind enough, you hand them a copy of Sadie's Heart so they understand.
Yeah, there's someone out there who's felt it and understands.
Yes. And that's, the old saying, misery loves company, but it's just that we find consolation in others going through the same thing. And we've all been through it. There's a heartbreak that it is. So we will come back for the next podcast with hopefully a happier topic. But
I think we should follow this up with something happy.
We definitely should. Thank everyone who has listened in and for taking time with us and spending some time with us. We really appreciate all of Rita's supporters and friends. We have quite the Catitude community out there.
I love everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next time.
Bye.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.